I'm currently waiting for some belts to come for a video recorder that I'm working on at the moment, which hopefully will feature in a future video. And while I can't make any progress on that one, I thought I'd have a quick look at this Akai cassette deck. It's a model GXC-39D, and I've personally owned this deck for over 30 years. I got it originally from a car boot sale, and when I got it home, one of the belts had stretched and gone slack. And the way I dealt with that was there was a screw sticking up through the metal chassis, and there's just a bit of the thread was poking up, and that was quite close to the path of that belt. So I just hooked the belt over the end of that screw, put a little bit of extra tension on the belt, and it worked absolutely fine after that, and that's how I left it. I never changed it since then. But because I haven't used this machine for probably a couple of decades now, the belts, particularly that one, probably would have deteriorated even further. So before I even power this up again, I'm going to take it to bits and have a little look at the belts. Probably it's going to need some new belts, but we'll have a look and we'll see what's going on in there. I've rested it on some videotapes, incidentally, just so I can have it upside down, but without resting on all the controls on the top. Oh, well, there are some belts that are still intact. So there is my bodge that I did about 35 years ago, and yes, that belt is now so slack that that's not going to work anymore, so we're definitely going to need a new belt for there. This belt here is also horribly slack. I can't imagine that really working anymore. Oh, that's just the auto stop belt though, isn't it? I don't think that belt I bodged does anything other than operate the auto stop. There's a little reed switch there with a revolving magnet. There's another belt in here, so you probably still can't see. There's another belt here which looks like it's on a swinging arm, and we've got a rubber tyre there. Well, that rubber tyre actually feels not too bad. I can't see any other belts under this circuit board, so I think these are the only three. The one that I bodged 35 years ago, which has now become too slack again to work. This main one here is obviously too slack, and this little one down here, which actually feels okay. But if I'm going to do the belts, I may as well do all the belts. So, need to order another belt kit. Although I will remove these belts now, just in case they suddenly decide to go all gooey and make a terrible mess in there. I just don't want to leave them in. I've got to get them out to change them anyway, so I may as well just take them out now. So I think I'm going to have to remove this bracket. Oh, that's tight. And that's an inappropriate screwdriver. Oh dear me, that is tight. Let's get a better screwdriver. Ah, there we go. This one does it. Right. That is that belt out. I think this circuit board's going to have to come off. One capstan. That at least enables us to get this belt, which actually feels okay. Oh no, it has gone, so it did need replacing. Now, I think this belt down here is going to be the problematic one, actually. Looks like maybe this whole assembly here is going to need to come off, and the little assembly that's got the reed switch on it is going to have to come off. There's a fairly delicate looking little spring there as well, which I don't want to damage. I think the first thing I need to remove is this assembly here. Now, is that going to come off? Yes. I'll leave the spring attached to it. Now, the belt actually passes under that assembly as well, doesn't it? So that little assembly is going to have to come off. this pulley assembly is going to have to come off, which looks like two little screws. One little screw, two little screws. Now, will that pulley come off? Oops. Yes, there we are. Get that out of the way. Oh, that's actually the tape hub. Now, this reed switch assembly needs to come away. That again looks like a screw there and a screw there. What's a long screw? That's also a long screw by the feel of it, yes. Now, can we lift that out of the way? Yes, there we are. And can we get that belt out now? Yes, we can. There we are. Right, belt out. Now I've got to put all this back together again. Reassembly is the reverse of disassembly. But it is actually now safe to power this up, isn't it? Because nothing's going to damage in there. As we motor runs, we can see if the VU meters do anything as well. So let's try that. Actually, I'll dim the lights so we can see if the VU meters light up. I can't remember whether they do or not on this one, to be honest. So many years since I've used it. So we're plugged in. And I'll stand in the light so that the VU meters are in shade. Let's turn on. Yes, they do light up. Obviously nothing's going to happen because... can we push record? Yes, there we go. The meters look like they're... Yes, they're responding to the crackling on the level meters. So that's looking promising, isn't it? That is actually looking promising. Good. I think just new set of belts and we'll have a fully working machine here. Right, here's the belt kit. Now, this, I believe, has a flat belt in it, which I think is for a later revision of this machine, which has a flat belt for the capstan. Mine doesn't. Mine has a square capstan belt, so we won't need the flat belt. So these are the three we will need. Right, I think that's this one, which looks significantly shorter than the original one. Feels too short to me, this. That's way too short, that belt, I think. But we'll put it on anyway. I think that belt's too tight. Needs to go around that wheel, inside of this first pulley, and then over the outside of the second pulley. So it goes on like that. Now, capstan belt. Whoops. There it is. And I think it wants to be on the lower one for 50 Hz, doesn't it? No, that's wrong. The 50 Hz position is the upper position on that pulley, so it's there. Should be it. Right, let's power it up, see if we get any motion. Well, I can hear a whir. And it's running. Is the capstan running? Yes, the capstan is running. Ah, we have no fast forward, and we have no rewind. But play we have. No fast forward and no rewind. Oh, that's a bit of a nuisance. Right, let's get it open again. Let's power it up. Yes. Let's play. Which is actually working fine. I think something is slipping here. Because that wheel appears to be turning, but it's not turning the belt for some reason. If you can see, the wheel in there, which is pushing against the flywheel on the back of the capstan, is turning, but for some reason it's not driving the little wheels at the back. So I think the belt is slipping. Let's power off. Yeah, see, that's turning, but the belt is slipping. Belt is slipping. Is that belt just too tight, maybe? No, I think that's okay, tightness-wise. So the problem is, this wheel is correctly being driven by the flywheel, which normally sits here, but that doesn't appear to be turning these pulleys here properly. Although, having spun it a bit more, it does appear to be getting slightly better. It does appear to be improving with use, doesn't it? Yes, as I work it more and more, it is improving. I wonder if that's just because the pulleys were just a bit dirty where the belt runs. Yeah, that seems to be working better now. Oh, well, how strange. Is that safe? Can we power it up in that position? Oh, of course I'm not able to see because I haven't put the capstan back in, have I? So let's put the capstan back on. And the belt. Now power up. That's play. Yeah, that's starting to run now. Not very smooth, but it is running. I think if I just leave it running for a bit, it'll improve. Let's try the other direction. Actually, that's running now. I think that might actually be running okay now. It now appears to be running. Yep, let's try reassembling then. Seems a bit rough, doesn't it? Right, I've just spotted why it was making that grinding noise. It's because the capstan belt has got on the wrong side of this piece of metal here. This has got like a foam coating over it, and the belt's got inside that bit of metal on there. That should be over there like that. Now the capstan is spinning really nice and freely. Mechanically now that's all working absolutely perfectly, so I think we can give it a try. And we have fast forward, rewind, and obviously the counter won't turn and rewind because it's driven from the take-up spool. We have play, and we have capstan. So, next job I think is give the heads and the capstan and the pinch roll a bit of a clean with some isopropyl alcohol and give it a try. Or should I try playing a tape first? Let's just try playing a tape first and see if the VU meters actually move. It's winding nicely. And yes, we have VU meter movement. And rewind is working. Right, I've cleaned the heads and the caps and the pinch roller, but unfortunately it's running slow. So I must have put the belt in the wrong position on the pulley on top of the motor, so I have to get the machine apart yet again. I've also noticed that the motor, I don't know if you can hear it, but the motor's quite noisy in there as well. So while I'm in there this time, I'll just see if I can get a little bit of oil on at least one of the bearings of the motor. I think the underneath bearing might be quite difficult to get at, but I'll try and see if I can get a little drop of oil onto the top bearing of the motor. I'm just going to remove the belt for a moment while I try and get some oil on the spindle. I don't think it's going to be easy because this fan is a bit in the way. I don't actually think I'm going to be able to do that without getting the... No, so that hasn't gone anywhere near the spindle. Right, I think what I'll have to do is get some on the end of a cotton bud and stick the cotton bud under. So I've got some oil on the end of that cotton bud. I can get that under there onto the spindle. Yes, it's touching the spindle. Let's try a little bit more. Hopefully some of that will make its way down into the bearing, but I don't really want to remove the motor because that's quite a big job, so I think that's going to have to do. I got a little bit of oil on the fan blades there, didn't I? So let's just rub that off. Use a clean cotton bud would help, wouldn't it? And this time we'll put the belt on the lower pulley. There we are. Right, that should be correct speed now, hopefully. The motor's still noisy, but it doesn't matter really. Hopefully it should be the correct speed now, though. Sounds better, doesn't it? Actually, it still sounds a bit slow, but I think that's probably because the motor run capacitor has dried out and needs replacing. Right, hooked up to a CD player, ready to make a recording. So what I'll do now is I'll try recording a track from the YouTube audio library onto a tape in this deck, once with Dolby switched off and then again with Dolby switched on. I'll then play those recordings back to you and give you a direct feed of the recording so we can see what the quality's like. Bearing in mind this machine hasn't been serviced probably since it left the factory in the mid-70s, so don't expect much, but we'll give it a try anyway. So, first of all, let's set the levels. Start the CD playing. Actually, that didn't look too bad, did they, where I've got it? We can maybe push it slightly higher. That looks okay, doesn't it? Let's go with that. I was going to use one of these tapes because
it's a Sony cassette.
But I think what I'll do instead is I'll treat it to a TDK SA-X. This is actually brand new, it just happens to be unwrapped. So it's a Type 2 tape, so we need it in chrome position. Let's wind it on a bit. Reset the counter. Pause. Record. think this deck's now mechanically good, but it clearly needs some more attention. So I'll leave this video here and I'll do a part 2 in which I'll replace the motor run capacitor, which hopefully should sort out the speed instabilities. And I'll also have a go at adjusting the electronics, but I think that's going to be quite difficult to do because I haven't got any proper test tapes, but I'll have a go at it and I'll see what I can do. So that's it for part 1. Hopefully see you again in part 2, which I'll try to get done before Christmas if I can, but probably more likely early in the new year, I think. So Merry Christmas if you celebrate it, and Happy New Year, and thanks very much for watching.